Whenever you pop on, say hello. For those who don't know me, my name is Natalie Bailiff, and I partnered with Limelight by Alcone. Today is going to be a little bit different. I actually get more nervous about these videos than I do about posting a picture or showing everybody how I personally do my makeup or my skincare or whatever, because this is sharing my heart. And that's always a little nerve-wracking. I actually got like a stomach ache even thinking about doing this. But bear with me. It might be jumbled. It might be random. We might go off on a tangent. I don't know. It'll be an adventure. So just stick with me. How I came on this idea was I was looking at the photos of the bundles that my amazing Limelight team came up with for Mother's Day, for the making shopping easier. And it made me start to think about all the mothers I have in my own life, my friends and my mom, my aunts, and my own journey of being a mom, where I was 8.5 years ago versus today, where I want to be. And it just came to me that there's just so much information and so many opinions and so many expectations out there for being a wife and a mom. And I kind of wanted to process through that information with you, because I feel like maybe somebody out there needs to hear this. A lot of times when God puts something on my heart and it makes me really nervous and it gives me a stomach ache and it makes me shaky and it makes me go on Facebook Live with hair like this, it can be for me, but I also feel like maybe someone else needs to hear it too. And so it's for my own growth and hopefully someone else's, some good ideas to process through. So anyway, I wanted to jump into this on how all of that information out there can actually steal your joy and steal your motherhood. The first thing I think is that there is no tangible way to measure your success as a mom. There's no prize at the end, right? Like, you can't get to the end of the race and then suddenly you know that you did everything correct. There's no official checklist of each day, if you do all of these things, then you are a good mother. If you do all of these things, then you are a good wife. And there's no official judge. So that actually leaves it open for us to lay our head down on our pillow each night and judge ourselves. And that is such a dangerous place. I hit the pillow most nights and I just think, oh, I didn't get that done. Oh, I lost my patience. Oh, I didn't make a meal from vegetables from my own garden. You know, I didn't do these things. Oh, my child doesn't know how to read a chapter book by age 3. Or, oh my gosh, my husband had to grab his work socks from the dryer because I just didn't get them folded today. And judging yourself, you're actually doing Satan's work for him. You're stepping in and saying, I got this. I can judge myself. I can make myself look bad. I can make myself feel bad. And I don't want to do his dirty work. I don't. I'm not for hire. I don't want to sit there and beat myself up or beat my friends up or have opinions on other mothers for their choices, right? So I feel like Satan created this checklist. He saw an opportunity to swoop in and say, you know what? There's an opportunity here. You know, there's an opportunity to make people feel inferior. Because here's the deal. There doesn't need to be a catastrophic event every day for you to feel like a failure as a wife and as a mom and at your job or your finances or your cooking. You don't have to have some catastrophic event or some catastrophe when it's in your marriage or whatever. It doesn't need to be that. What is it? It's a little bickering. It's chipping away at your self-confidence, at your joy, at your patience, and at your the very core of who you are. It's just little chips each day. He's very patient. The enemy is very patient. He is in it for the long haul. And he is willing to study you. And he is, like any good enemy, he attacks you at your weakest point, right? So for me, sometimes that is playing pretend. My boys will play war or they'll play Legos or whatever. I am horrible at playing those things. If you want to draw with sidewalk chalk, I can do that. If you want to do an actual activity that has like a start and an end, like a board game or a craft or going to the park even, I'm like better at those things. But sometimes when I lay my head down at night and I'm ready for judgment day, you know, at the end of the day when everyone's asleep, I think, gosh darn it, I should have played a little bit longer with Tanner today when he was playing Legos, you know, because I always sit down and I try to help him build and those sorts of things. Did I do it long enough? And that's hard. That's hard to take your weakest point. Sometimes it's, gosh, my meals. For those who didn't hear from me yesterday, I had a really horrible day. And it wasn't that any one thing went wrong. It was like a bunch of little things. And at quiet time, I put ribs in the crock pot. We put them in the crock pot and then we crisp them up on the grill. And I put them in at quiet time like I was supposed to in the midst of this horrible day. And then I went to go get Jackson. And I came home before I had to run back to the county clerk and recorder's office. And I walked in and I didn't smell anything. And I was like, that's weird. And I went into the kitchen and I forgot to turn on the crock pot. And I owned up to it. I told John, I was like, well, we have to figure out dinner because my original plan didn't really work. And, you know, I fessed up and he didn't care. But I already knew that we had had kind of a thrown together dinner 2 nights in a row because we had a birthday party and then we went up to Estes Park the day after. So that's my weakest point of like, gosh, I couldn't even get a meal on the table. I couldn't even in the, you know, like how simple is dinner? I couldn't even do that. So Satan attacks you at your weakest point. And then he chips away little by little of your joy, of your self-confidence, and the things that you do feel good about, right? The enemy doesn't have to confuse you. Hey, bud. What's up? Did you turn off? Motherhood. Oh, there it is.
Well, why trying YouTube?
Oh, you're running out of battery? Okay, we'll go play Legos for a minute, and I'll be in a second. We'll go get Jackson. Well, kids' YouTube, is it? If it's not working, then I don't know. Here, try this one. Okay, just give me about 5 minutes. Alrighty? Your quiet time's not over, bro.
What is it?
You can turn on one of your shows. Okay? Just give me 5 more minutes because it's still quiet time, bro.
I want the police and I don't know how to.
Okay. Alright, go ahead.
Can you turn on the police?
Yeah, I'll be in there in a minute.
Facing again.
It's not funny faces. Okay, I'm going to continue this and you have to go do your quiet time, okay? Because if you're not going to nap, you got to do quiet. Alright, so what else I was getting to is you can feel defeated just by the little things each day. And that's a really good place to start for him, right? I also want to say that he can distract you. It's easy to get distracted by your phone or by friends. I've had John tell me a couple times of like, I just got home, like your phone is ringing off the hook. And I'm like, you're right. It is. And you have to push ignore on some of those phone calls to be present for your family. You can't answer every text message. You can't answer every email. You can't scroll through Pinterest all day long and still be present for your family. And so a lot of the time, distraction, I mean, that's a great way to say this phone call is more important than you, or and some things have to get done, and there's no way around that. But a majority of it, if it's just, you know, friends catching up or whatever, I can do that at a time when my husband's not home, or you know, if he's doing something different, if my kids are occupied. We typically have quiet time, which you just saw like a 30-second snippet of, you know, Tanner didn't even want to do quiet time. So, you know, you have to work those things in. But distraction is a really good way to lose sight of your focus as a mom and what you want to accomplish and your values. It's a great way to distract you from your values. It's easy to get sucked into Pinterest and be like, how come I'm not painting mason jars, you know, with my kids for vases for flowers for Mother's Day? Or, you know, why can't I make ladybugs to hang on the wall? Or I mean, whatever it is. Why am I not teaching my kid how to make homemade bread? There's so many things that can distract us. And what's up? Okay, go play Legos for a minute and I'll figure this out and I'll bring it to you, okay? The other one is comparison. I have so many friends that are like totally different mothers than I am. They are so different. And some things I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that. Or, gosh, I wish I looked that great every day. Or, oh my gosh, she is killing it in the career field, and I am wearing my husband's old hoodie around the house while I do laundry. It's easy to say, oh, that family has more money. That family takes more vacations. That family seems to, I don't know, cook vegan meals every night, whatever it is. It's easy to fall into that trap. And Satan just laughs his way to the bank with that one. He just laughs because God made each of us so special and unique. And that's God's promise to us, that we are each special and unique, and we each have a job, and we are all marked for that job. And Satan actually uses one of God's gifts against us. We want to be like someone else, right? So that's awesome. We just took God's promise and actually turned it into a bad thing. What? Like, that is not even possible. Like, I can't, it blows my mind that happens. And it happens to me too. I sit and think like, oh gosh, look what they have, or whatever. And yet I've had people look at me and say like, Natalie, how do you do that? Or how did you do that? And I'm confused by it. I'm like, oh, that didn't seem like a big deal to me, or whatever. We each have our thing. And so what I tell my son is, we don't worry about others in terms of their shortcomings or their gifts or whatever. We stay in our lane. We appreciate people for who they are. I think that if we can get rid of the expectation of people, we can appreciate them a little bit more. But we stay in our lane. We stay in our lane and focus on us and our growth and whatever. And I really wish that so many moms would look at their own gifts. Ask God what kind of a mother you are. Ask God who he sees you as. I always tell my kids, ask God what he says about you. He'll tell you. And yet it's like sometimes hard as a mom to say, well, God, what do you think about me as a mom? Because maybe we're afraid of his answer. Maybe he's going to say, wow, I gave you these great kids and you're totally screwing them up, right? He's not going to say that. He already knew what kind of parents we were going to be before he gave us these kids. So I really feel like the distraction and the comparison, the checklist, those are all like really great ways to defeat you. The other one is he makes you feel selfish. If you take time out to have a girls' night, if you do have a career, if you do want to take a bubble bath at the end of the day, if you want to take a vacation without your kids, right? That's selfish. It's selfish because you're supposed to give every ounce of who you are to that family, according to this lie. I spent years doing that. I spent years. The first 15 months of Jackson's life, I didn't have a babysitter. I didn't have a babysitter even one time. And that makes life extremely difficult if you're worn out, you're a new mom, you're 2,000 miles away from family. You don't even ask your own husband for help. He jumps in. I mean, John was a great dad with Jackson, but when he was a baby, but it's like, I never asked for help, and I was drowning. And I felt like if I took time for myself, if I did something that I enjoyed, if I just didn't spend every ounce of energy and every thought on my kids, that it was selfish. And it got to a point where it was like, okay, like, I'm exhausted. I can't do this anymore. And that's a really great way. If Satan can wear you out, then, you're already then not going to do your best. He can wear you out. So don't feel selfish about taking time for yourself. My husband, his hobby is hunting. So that comes along in the last 3 months or so of the year. And he goes out a ton during that time. And I kind of just know that the other 9 months out of the year, he doesn't really, go out and do those things. He saves his hobby for one time of the year. And it can be a lot on those weekends. It can be like, oh my gosh, hunting again. But it's the one thing he enjoys. And I bet you he doesn't feel selfish about that. He works hard year round to get to that point of, okay, I'm going to take a break and go do something I really enjoy. He does take Jackson out once or twice, but a lot of the time, he goes out with a buddy and he goes hunting. He does not feel selfish about that. So I want to give you permission to take the trip, take a girls' night, take some time and breathe. And for me, I try to do it each night where we put the boys to bed and take a half hour or so, and I do mindless scrolling through Pinterest, or I do watch Hallmark movies, and then John and I will end up watching a movie together or something like that before bed. You can have that self-care time without feeling like you're a horrible parent because you're not like co-sleeping with your kid at that point. You know, I give you permission to do that. I also want to say that if you're questioning yourself as a mother, you're probably doing it right. Because if you were a bad mom, you wouldn't even think to ask yourself if you're doing it right. So you at least have that going for you. I think that the amount of information out there is meant to confuse us. I think that we get flooded with co-sleeping and not co-sleeping. Organic kale, quinoa, avocado mixture versus the Gerber baby food at Target, right? You have to make these choices. Do I stay at home or do I work? Well, you have to work, right? Because you have to give your kids the vacations and the sports and the new car to ride around in and the private school and all of those things. But you also have to be a stay-at-home mom because you have to be the room mom. You have to bring snack to them. You have to meet all of their emotional and social needs, which means you have to schedule play dates with different friends of different economic and racial backgrounds, and you have to feed them food that you grow from your garden outside. So you have to be able to be a working mom and a stay-at-home mom, right? But that's not possible. So you have to make a choice. And then you make a choice, and I can guarantee you that Satan will make you feel like it's the wrong one. And he's going to make you envy the room mom that stays home if you work. And if you are staying at home, you're like, man, she looks really good and she gets a career. And then you start judging each other. So we're back to doing Satan's work. So I just want to encourage you to let that go. Like, let it go. And I think that it is okay if we let our kids be bored. It is okay if we give them natural consequences. My kids don't ever want to wear a coat. In fact, Tanner wants to wear shorts when it's snowing out. And I talk till I'm blue in the face, and it doesn't matter. And it's really on my heart that, you know what, if it was Jackson, if it was Natalie, 4 years ago, and I was parenting just Jackson, I might have said, no, you have to wear pants and a coat, and you have to do all this. And now I'm like, boys, if you are going to wear that, and you're going to fight me on it, you're going to be cold, and that's a natural consequence. So I'm into natural consequences now. I don't have to get mad. I don't have to make their problem my problem. This is their problem. They're going to be cold. That's not my problem because I told them to wear the coat. Make siblings work it out. I hate bickering. Bickering is so annoying. Like, it's always over stupid stuff. So I give you permission to tell your kids that they have to work it out, that you don't want any tattling and you don't want to have to fix it for them. I think it's okay to put a movie on so you can get something done for 30 minutes. Even if that something is sitting in your room, eating a snack that you don't have to share. I'm all for that. They're not going to die over 30 minutes of a Disney movie. They just won't. And I think I touched on this before, but ask God how he sees you. Ask him to reveal to you what he sees in you. Because I think a lot of times we're hard on ourselves. We're harder on ourselves than anyone else could ever be. And so I want to encourage you to do that. I think that I hit on all of my points. I think that if you can get distracted, if you can get lost in comparison, if you can feel selfish, if he can attack you at your weakest point, if he can make you doubt yourself or make you doubt other moms, and then make them feel bad. I can't even tell you how many friends I have that say, oh my gosh, so-and-so said this to me about my parenting or about my child. And it blows my mind that people have time to worry about what another mom is doing. Blows my mind. So I would say stay in your lane. You're doing great. God knew what kind of a parent you were going to be before he gave you those kids. And there is nothing that you can do that God can't cover. There's no mistake that you can make that is so big that God can't cover it for you and for your children. So do not let the enemy into your motherhood. Do not let him steal your joy. Do not let him think that he's winning. And don't let him make you think that the dishes are more important than reading with your child, or that your child will die of lack of emotional whatever if you go do the dishes, right? There's balance and they both have to get done. So I hope this was a help for someone out there. I hope that my rambling and my jumbled thoughts near Mother's Day helps someone maybe process their own thoughts. And shoot me a message or like comment below if you agree, if you felt it, if you disagree, whatever. I would love to hear from you. So I have to go get my son from school, and I will see you all soon.